Do your outdoor adventures include lakes or streams or rain? If so, you should take a look at the BaoFeng UV-9G GMRS two-way radio. Hi, and welcome to the Gadget Talk channel, where we do reviews and how-tos on a variety of electronic gadgets that catch my eye, like this very nice, inexpensive GMRS radio from BaoFeng. If you find this video helpful, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the Gadget Talk channel. As we get started, I need to let you know that BaoFeng provided this radio to me for this review. As always, you're getting my honest opinion. BaoFeng is recognized as one of the leaders in inexpensive Chinese-manufactured two-way radios. BaoFeng radios are available for both GMRS and ham use. Recent FCC rulings regarding certification for GMRS radios has resulted in several newly upgraded and certified GMRS radios like this UV-9G. In this case, the UV-9G is an upgraded and certified version of the older GT3WP ham radio. As we'll see in just a minute, the UV-9G has some very nice features, is easy to use, has available customer programming software, and is waterproof up to 1 meter for 30 minutes. There are also a couple of annoyances that you'll need to fix when setting up your radio. For those of you who like to get right to the point, here are a couple of key points for this radio before we take a more in-depth look at the UV-9G. First, the build quality is good. The radio feels good in my hand and has some heft to it, and it feels solid. That probably has to do with it having an IP67 waterproof rating. That rating means that it can withstand being submerged in up to 1 meter of water for 30 minutes. That means if your outdoor activities include fishing, kayaking, or hiking near lakes or streams, the UV-9G is a good choice. We'll test that here in just a minute. Next, the UV-9G can receive several bands. The GMRS channels are in the 70 centimeter band near 462 megahertz. The radio can also scan and receive frequencies in the VHF band too. That means you can program in amateur band repeaters and simplex frequencies, as well as the NOAA weather channels. It will also pick up the FM broadcast bands. If you're a prepper, this would be a good choice for your go bag. With receive capabilities in all these bands, you'll be able to stay informed in SHTF situations. Next, the 1800 milliamp hour battery will power the radio for a long time. I turned the radio on and left it. After 24 hours, it was still on with 1 battery bar showing. I'd done a bit of transmitting and some programming, so I was very pleased with the battery life. Last in this abbreviated list is the 3 extra sets of do-it-yourself GMRS repeater channels. What this means to you is you can program up to 4 repeaters on the same channel with different CTCSS codes. This allows you to quickly and easily change repeaters as you move around your local area or travel around the country without jumping into the radio's menus. As for the annoyances, they're just a couple. First, out of the box, the radio has pre-assigned CTCSS codes on the GMRS channels. it's unlikely they'll match your desired codes, assuming you even use them. Additionally, all the channels are set to narrow band. This means you'll have to spend a few minutes working your way through the channels, making the menu changes for each channel. A better choice would be to use the customer programming software and make quick work of the task. You can also set up your favorite repeaters while you're at it. BaoFeng tells me they'll fix this in the next production run. Next, only NOA Channel 1 allows turning the scan mode on or off in the CPS. Since NOAA channels broadcast all the time, your scan will always stop on your local NOAA channel unless it's Channel 1. My local channel is Channel 1, so this is a non-issue for me, and I don't regularly scan anyway. But if you like to scan, set up menu item 18 to the TO choice. That will allow the scan to resume after a few seconds. Again, the BaoFeng rep tells me they are aware of this fault and are working on a fix. Let's start the hands-on portion of the review, taking a look at what comes in the box. So here's what's in the box. We've got this owner's manual or user's manual for the UV-9G, and it lists the usual user manual stuff. It's got some drawings in it for how to put in the battery, what the various menu items mean, what the various functions are. It's written pretty well. I think that one of the things that it's going to be very valuable as you get used to the menus in this is Appendix C, where it lists the menu items and what the little code names mean. Some of them are really obvious, others not so much. So all in all, a pretty good user manual for the UV-9G. You charge the UV-9G with a charging cradle, and this is the cradle itself. The wall wart comes with it, has a little LED to remind you that it's plugged in, and it has a 100 to 240 volt input, which is really typical for these things, and it's got a 10 volt output. So it's a little different than what you'd get out of your car, for example, but it just plugs in, and it plugs in on the top, which is a little unusual, and then the radio drops in there. There are a couple of little extensions right there that allow the radio to fit tight up against the charge contacts, and then there's an LED right here that'll glow when it's charging, red when charging, green when it's finished. So that's the charging cradle. So the radio comes with a couple of little connecting devices. This is a little wristband that will loop through a small loop on the back of the radio. And I've become kind of a fan of wristbands because I can leave it looped on my wrist and less likely to drop it. The belt clip is a little different from most of the BaoFeng belt clips, which are just little clips that screw onto the back of the radio, or in many cases the back of the battery. This one is different. It has that nice spring clip, a little edge down here to fit over your belt, but you would hang on your waist like this, and then this little tab with this screws into the back of the radio, and so you would drop the radio in to the belt clip. It snaps in, and then it would be able to rotate with you if you were hiking and walking around. And then when you wanted to use a radio, you would pull it out of the belt clip, and the belt clip itself would stay there on your belt or on your backpack or whatever you had it connected to. So that's the wrist strap and the belt clip. Next is the programming cable, and it's got a chip here. I think it's a Prolific branded chip. If you've got Prolific drivers on your computer, you're good. Otherwise, you'll have to load them in. And because this is waterproof, it has a different style of connector. And so what you'll do is you'll take the cover off the radio, unscrew it, because it screws in to keep it nice and tight, snap this end into the detent on the radio, and then screw this end in to make contact with the little contacts or buttons on the face of the side of the radio. And so that allows you to do the programming. I've programmed the radio already. It worked slick. It's easy to do, and we'll look at the customer programming software here in just a second. But really the only thing that's just a bit annoying is that this doesn't come with a screw. And so you have to take the screw out of the cover, put it in here, and screw it on. The good news is you're probably not going to be doing a lot of programming once you get your radio set up. So that is the programming cable. Next is the antenna. It's just a short little rubber ducky type antenna. It's got the socket or female end here in the antenna itself, and it says that it's good from 136 to 174 megahertz, and then from 400 to 520 megahertz. And that upper end of 520, which is the indicator that this is an antenna designed for GMRS style radio, since those frequencies are up in the middle 460s. So there's our antenna. So now let's look at the radio itself. So the radio itself really feels pretty good. It's tough, it's hard. I'm sure that the weatherproofing rating on this makes quite a difference in the feel of this radio, but it fits in your hand very well. Your push to talk is right there where your index finger of your right hand would grab it if you picked it up. This is where the connector for the programming cable goes, and so it gives you a little bit extra grip right here when your thumb has it. And then the buttons and everything really feel pretty firm. On the top, you can see there's a little protective edge around the on-off button.
Channel mode.
And you can turn the radio on and adjust the volume there. And as with most BaoFeng radios, it's got a little flashlight there at the top that's controlled by buttons on the side. The bottom button changes the flashlight from steady to flash. A quick press on that will get that working. On the back is the battery. It's an 1800 milliamp hour battery, and it fits in quite tightly. You can press the button right here, and then it just kind of slides in and fits snug. Again, because of that waterproof rating, it's a nice tight fit. So all in all, the battery and the radio together make a pretty substantial feeling radio. And then last but not least, there's two small little plastic enclosures that aren't listed really anywhere, and they fit right down here. So it has a piece of paper in it and a little clear plastic piece with some edging on it, and when the battery's off, it just slides right into that detent. And so as you can see here, I've got a label maker that I made in the tiniest font that it had, was able to put my call sign down there, slide it in, snap the battery on, and so now if I'm wanting to know what my call sign is when I'm talking, I can just look down there and see it. Or if you were using a bunch of these, you could label the radios, radio 1, radio 2, and so forth, so you would know which one you were programming, or which one you were giving to which member of your family, and so forth. So there we have it. That's the radio. The antenna itself just screws on. Do that real quick. And that's what the radio looks like. Now, let's do a quick tour of the menus. You may want to keep your user manual close by when working through the menus, as there are 41 menu items and their labels may take you a while to get used to. So let's take a quick look at the menu system here in this little UV-9G. It's pretty typical of most BaoFeng menus, so we'll turn the radio on.
Channel mode.
And on the front, you can see that there's a display. It gives you the upper and lower. I've got GMRS channel 9 on the upper and GMRS channel 6 on the lower. A press on the exit button when you're not in a menu will switch back and forth. And then, of course, the push to talk, will transmit on whichever one of these is highlighted. Now there are 41 menus here, and a lot of them you're probably going to want to just set up using the customer programming software, in that it's much easier than moving around the various keys here in the menu. But they're not difficult, it just becomes kind of tedious. You can see that in bright yellow on the keys there are a number of menu shortcuts. So for example, in menu number 1, if you press 1, you'll move into the step, which is the tuning step, how much the frequency changes when you press the up or down button. Number 2 is transmitter power. Save your the save command is in number 3. The ABR, or the auto backlight timing, is on number 6. Timeout, timer, beep, and so forth are easy to get there. Adjust the squelch easily with number 0, and then start and stop scanning with the star key, and lock the keyboard with the pound key. So to work through the menus, you basically press the menu, and then at this point you can move yourself up and down the menus. We'll go up here to the VOX, or the VOX, which is the voice activated transmitting. If you wanted that on, you'd press menu again, and a little arrow would move to the lower end. And then you can go on or off and set a volume percentage, and so making it very sensitive or very insensitive. With Vox, you probably want to make it fairly insensitive so it wasn't broadcasting just, engine noise driving down the road. If you wanted it on 6, you press menu again, it says confirm. And then you can use the up and down arrows to move in the menus, or you can exit. In this case, I don't want Vox on, so I'm going to go back and I'm going to change it to off. Confirm. Now I can move up my menus to the wide narrow. This one is on narrow. Let me exit here. It's GMRS 9, so that's a narrow band GMRS channel. So that's correct. Well, that's where I want it. Go up again to the auto backlight, the brightness of the screen. The TDR is dual watch, so I can listen on both of the channels that are in my A and B register. I can turn the ever popular beep on and off, timeout, timer. Here, when you get to memory 10, you can set the DCS for the receiver or CTCSS for the receiver on 11. 12 gives you the DCS for the transmitter, and 13 gives you the CTCSS for the transmitter. And so if you're making changes to put in what they call privacy codes or the CTCSS codes, you can do that. I'll show you what that looks like. So if we've got the CTCS, we pick menu again. The arrow moves to the bottom. And then now we can cycle through the various subaudible tones that are available. And these are all standard, and so you can work your way through, and there are quite a number of them. And so when you wanted that one, you press confirm, and then you can go back up your menus or exit the menu with the exit key. Now I don't want that, so I'm going to go in there and turn it off. I'm going to go down to off, confirm that, and then exit the menu. So like I said, there are about 41 menus here, and we've just kind of scratched the surface. Appendix C in the owner's manual is going to be your friend for a while, because it explains some of these, and some of them they're not just really self-evident in terms of the name and what in fact it does. But there are a lot of neat things in here. So you can, for example, in menu 18, you can set how your scan works, whether it stays on a channel for a certain amount of time, whether it stays on the channel for as long as the carrier is present, and those kind of things. If you're in an area where you use push-to-talk ID, that's really not common usage, but those commands are available in the various menus around 19 and 20. And then there are a number of menus where you can set the various colors for the screen. And so that gives you a quick overview of how the menus work here in this UV-9G. I did a range check with a friend, and with both of us using HTs, we had good reception up to 3.5 miles in a suburban setting. Okay, Rich, about 2.5 miles away or so, how copy at this location?
Very good, very clear, not a problem at all.
Last, let's drop the radio into my backyard pool for a couple of minutes to simulate a fall into a lake or stream. Okay, we're out here in my backyard pool. We're going to take a check on the waterproof nature of this. We're going to be putting in about 18 inches or so of water. We're not going to leave it sit for very long, but just give you an idea of how this might look if you simulated, fell out of your boat or out of your kayak or tripped in a stream. You can see we've got the radio on right now, and so we'll hope for the best. Here we go. You can see the radio is there, the light's still on, splashing around a little bit, and now we're going to retrieve it. And you can look at it and see that it's still working, so at least for a bit of a dip, it is actually submersible. As for the dunk test, you saw the radio stayed on and worked when coming out of the water. The next morning, however, it seemed to have gotten a little damp as it came up in Chinese and random frequencies. I left it out to completely dry and then worked my way through the menus and selected Reset All. The reset got it back to factory defaults, and when I loaded my file from the CPS I'd saved the day before, I had everything the way it was. I think I'd be confident in thinking of this as a splash-proof radio, but I wouldn't go swimming with it in my pocket for more than a minute or two, and I'd do my best to dry it off completely. Normally, I'd never dunk a radio like I did here, regardless of its waterproof rating. However, since this radio was provided without cost and the kind folks at BaoFeng wanted a full review, well, in it went. All things considered, I was pleased that it survived the dunk and still works. Okay, so what do you think? Feel free to leave a comment below. Over the past couple of weeks, the UV-9G has been in and out of stock a couple of times, so it looks like folks are excited about this radio. In my opinion, this is a very nice handy-talkie at this price point. As I record this, the radio is only about $40 US. Its performance is typical for the radios at this price point, and its rugged construction and IP67 water resistance rating set it apart from other low-priced GMRS radios. The extra DIY channels are also a bonus and not always found on inexpensive handsets. If you're looking for an inexpensive GMRS radio that's a couple of steps above the blister pack radios at your Walmart, you owe it to yourself to consider the UV-9G from BaoFeng. Hey, if you like this video, please click the thumbs up button below the video and subscribe to the Gadget Talk channel. Click the bell icon to be notified when I post new videos. Thanks for watching.